What happens when faith is tested, not just by loss, but by something darker, something clawing its way through the cracks of grief, trauma, and belief? That's the question at the core of The Ritual, David Midell's 2025 horror drama that takes its inspiration from the most documented exorcism case in American history. Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. Now, on paper, The Ritual sounds like a sure hit. It's based on the real-life case of Emma Schmidt, features a possessed girl, a haunted convent, and two battling priests. Oh, and it has Al Pacino. But does that automatically mean it's a good film? Not exactly. In fact, many viewers felt the film fell flat because of its predictability. But while the scares may be lacking, the story is rich in themes: faith, trauma, guilt, and redemption. So today, we're breaking down what the film is really about, what the ending means, and whether Emma Schmidt was actually possessed, or something else was going on entirely. Let's dive in. A chilling beginning and a town of secrets. So The Ritual opens with a bang, or rather, a scream. We're dropped right into a convent where a priest cautiously approaches a room echoing with disturbing sounds. And just as he opens the door, we catch a glimpse of something unnatural, a woman defying physics, hurling herself toward the ceiling like a shadow on a string, and then cut to black. We're taken back 9 days before this event to the sleepy town of Erling, Iowa. Here we meet Father Joseph Steiger, a beloved priest who's visibly struggling. He's grieving the recent suicide of his brother, and this loss has left his faith hanging by a thread. But before he can even process his emotions, Bishop Edwards arrives with a serious request. He needs Father Steiger to assist in a solemn exorcism. A young woman named Emma Schmidt is suffering from inexplicable fits, violent outbursts, and a strong aversion to all things holy. The church has tried psychology. They've tried medicine. Now they want to try God. Naturally, Steiger is skeptical. He believes Emma's condition is psychological, not supernatural. And honestly, who can blame him? His worldview has already been shattered by his brother's death. The last thing he wants to do is dive headfirst into a ritual that feels medieval. But orders are orders. And soon enough, Emma arrives at the convent. Two priests, one girl. A battle of belief enter Father Theophilus Riesinger. He's the veteran exorcist, old school, intense, and the church's chosen man to carry out the ritual. Steiger and Riesinger couldn't be more different. One is compassionate but doubting, the other devout and unshaken. Right away, Riesinger insists that Emma be restrained. Steiger protests. To him, tying up a suffering girl is cruel and dehumanizing. But Riesinger knows what's coming. He's seen it before. He insists that 3 sisters be present during the exorcism, along with Steiger, who must document the process. At first, Steiger's resistance seems justified. Emma appears fragile, even tragic. But that perception crumbles on the second night of the ritual. During the session, Emma suddenly unleashes a burst of terrifying strength. She grabs Sister Rose. Yes, the same nun Steiger has a subtle romantic tension with, by her hair, and refuses to let go. When they finally pry them apart, Emma is still clutching thick clumps of Rose's hair. This is the moment Steiger realizes this isn't just a sick girl. Something darker is at play, and just like that, the tide begins to turn. Emma's childhood, the real horror story. Now, let's talk about Emma Schmidt, because this isn't just a possession story, it's a story about trauma. As Steiger begins to dig deeper, he discovers that Emma's past is filled with horrors of its own. According to Riesinger, Emma had a history of spiritual sensitivity from childhood. When she was a young girl, she was briefly possessed before. Riesinger himself had visited her hometown of Reading years ago, but was too inexperienced to perform a full exorcism. Instead, he left, convinced Emma needed psychiatric care, and for a while, that worked. Emma got better, until tragedy struck again. After her mother died, and she was left alone, the same dark forces returned. But what made her so vulnerable in the first place? It turns out Emma's childhood was a nightmare. Her father Jacob and her aunt Mina, who were secretly lovers, used witchcraft against her, poisoning, cursing, and possibly even assaulting her, they created an environment of fear and abuse. Emma wasn't just sensitive, she was groomed by evil, whether human or not. This disturbing backstory suggests that Emma was always a target, traumatized, violated, and ultimately broken. The film positions this as the gateway for demonic possession, but it also raises another question. Are these symptoms of literal demons or psychological ones? The crisis of faith. Through all of this, Father Steiger's own arc becomes central. He's our lens, our anchor, and he's crumbling. He's not just struggling with Emma's case, he's struggling with God himself. Steiger's brother, who took his own life, had been a man of faith too. So why didn't God help him? Why did faith fail someone who clearly needed saving? This grief and doubt simmer under the surface throughout the film, but come to a boil when Steiger is forced to confront Emma's very real, very violent possession. He doesn't want to believe, but how can he not? One of the more surprising elements in the film is Steiger's connection with Sister Rose. Their subtle flirtations, emotional vulnerability, and near-romantic moment add a layer of complexity to the story. They're both devout, both cracking under pressure, and both searching for something real in the darkness. But ultimately, the film doesn't let them give in. They choose God over each other. Thematic? Yes. Predictable? Also yes. The final exorcism and Steiger's redemption. Let's talk about that final exorcism. Things go off the rails. Emma is overtaken by the darkness inside her. The demonic force becomes more aggressive than ever, even incapacitating Father Riesinger. The room turns chaotic. The nuns are terrified, and for a moment, it looks like all hope is lost. And then, Steiger steps up. The same man who doubted, who resisted the exorcism, who questioned God's existence. He's the one who finishes the ritual, and it's powerful, not because of the visual effects, which are honestly pretty bare bones, but because of what it means symbolically. Steiger uses his brother's St. Michael medallion to perform the final rites. He calls on the archangel to banish the evil, and somehow it works. Emma is freed, the demonic presence leaves her, and Steiger, for the first time, truly believes. This moment is less about spectacle and more about spiritual victory. It's not just Emma who's been saved, it's Steiger too. He's reclaimed his faith, faced his grief, and finally found peace with his brother's death.
It is he who commands you, he who once still...
Was Emma really possessed? Or was it all psychological? Now, here's where things get a little messy, because in real life, the case of Emma Schmidt is full of ambiguity. The 1928 exorcism in Iowa, performed by the real Father Riesinger and documented by the real Father Steiger, lasted 23 days. Emma was much older than portrayed in the film, and her symptoms included levitation, speaking in unknown languages, and extreme contortions. Some priests believed she was possessed by multiple demons, including her abusive father. But here's the thing, there was never any concrete proof. Many still believe Emma suffered from a severe psychological disorder that went undiagnosed in an era when mental health wasn't understood. Others argue that the trauma of abuse, combined with religious guilt and isolation, led her to manifest these symptoms unconsciously. The film, however, throws all that nuance out the window. It goes full-on supernatural. We see literal demonic shadows in the convent. Emma's voice changes. Her strength becomes inhuman. Even Riesinger sees visions of Satan himself roaming the halls. There's no doubt left. Emma is definitely possessed. And that's where the ritual might lose some people. It could have explored the grey area. It could have left us questioning what was real and what was imagined. Instead, it leans into a clear-cut God versus Satan narrative, and it does so without much innovation. Our nerdy thoughts. So, was the ritual worth the watch? That depends on what you're looking for. If you're into slow-burn religious horror with thematic weight, it has its moments. If you're expecting a shocking possession film like The Exorcist, you'll probably be disappointed. The biggest strength of the film lies in Father Steiger's character arc. Watching a man broken by grief find his way back to faith gives the movie emotional depth, but that's largely thanks to a strong performance and a solid script. not the direction or pacing, which feel clunky at times. Al Pacino's role is minimal and, unfortunately, underwhelming. And while the story is inspired by true events, the film doesn't dig deep into the ambiguity that made the real case so fascinating. Instead, it plays it safe, and that's the film's greatest sin. Was Emma really possessed? Or was it all a tragic result of childhood trauma and unchecked mental illness? Did the film do justice to the real case? Or did it take too many shortcuts? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more deep dives into horror films based on true events. Until next time, keep your medallions close and your doubts closer.
No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.